4.5 billion years ago, Earth did not exist. There was nothing here. What you're about to see took 5 billion years. You will see it in 8 minutes. This is the story of how a ball of fire became your home. And by the end, you will realize how terrifyingly fragile we really are. Let's go back. Not 100 years. Not 1,000. 5 billion years. It began with a cloud. A cloud of gas and dust floating in nothingness. Then gravity did something violent. It began pulling everything together at the center. Pressure built so high, it ignited. The sun was born. Around it, leftover dust and rock began clumping together, forming small worlds. One of these clumps of rock would one day become Earth. But it was not the Earth you know. It was a hellish, molten nightmare. Temperatures reached over 2,000 degrees Celsius. The entire surface was liquid rock. There was no water, no air, no life, just fire everywhere. This period had a name, the Hadean Eon, named after Hades, hell. And then something catastrophic happened that would change Earth forever. A planet the size of Mars, called Theia, slammed straight into Earth. The collision was so massive, it blasted a chunk of Earth into space that debris didn't disappear. It clumped together and began orbiting Earth. Slowly it cooled and formed a giant gray rock in the sky. That rock is still there today. We call it the Moon. Without this violent collision, you would not exist. The Moon stabilizes our planet, but Earth's nightmare was far from over. Space kept attacking it. For millions of years, asteroids and comets rained down on the surface. Scientists call this brutal period the Late Heavy Bombardment. But shockingly, these very asteroids may have brought something essential: water trapped inside ice and rock. Water molecules survived the journey through space. Slowly, as Earth cooled, this water began to change everything. As the crust hardened, water vapor filled the toxic atmosphere above. Then came rain. Not for a day, not for a year, for centuries. This rain filled the low points of Earth's crust, forming the first oceans. For the first time in Earth's history, liquid water covered the surface. This happened around 4 billion years ago. Earth finally had oceans, but the sky was still orange, toxic, and utterly unbreathable. There was no oxygen, no life, just water, rock, and chemistry. And in that lifeless chemistry, something impossible was about to happen. Deep beneath the ocean, hydrothermal vents spewed out chemical-rich hot water. Matic. In this chaos, simple molecules began combining in ways no one can fully explain. And then, around 3.8 billion years ago, the impossible happened. Life began. The first life forms were not plants or animals. They were single-cell. These simple organisms are called prokaryotes, and they ruled Earth for billions of years. Think about this. Life existed for 3 billion years before anything complex evolved. For nearly a billion years, these microbes simply floated, survived, and multiplied. Then a group of these microbes discovered something revolutionary: sunlight. They learned to convert sunlight into energy. This process is called photosynthesis. This single discovery would trigger one of the deadliest events in Earth's history. These microbes, called cyanobacteria, began releasing a gas as waste: oxygen. To most life on Earth at the time, oxygen was pure poison. For millions of years, oxygen slowly built up in the atmosphere, unnoticed. Then, 2.4 billion years ago, oxygen levels exploded. Scientists call it the Great Oxidation Event. This oxygen poisoned and wiped out almost every living organism on Earth. It was Earth's first mass extinction, and the culprit was tiny bacteria. Shockingly, this poison gas is the exact same oxygen you're breathing right now. The organisms that survived adapted to this toxic new world. They evolved. This oxygen also created a shield in the sky, the ozone layer. For the first time, Earth was being prepared for something bigger than microbes. But this oxygen boost had a terrifying side effect. It cooled the entire planet. Around 700 million years ago, Earth froze completely, pole to pole. Scientists call this terrifying period Snowball Earth. The whole planet was ice. Even the oceans froze solid, down to depths of over a kilometer. Almost all life should have died, but pockets of it survived near volcanic vents. When volcanoes eventually melted the ice, life exploded into complexity. For the first time, cells began joining together, forming multicellular organisms. This was the birth of complexity, the birth of everything you know as life. But the biggest explosion of life was still 500 million years away. 541 million years ago, something unbelievable happened. Evolution hit fast forward. In just a few million years, almost every major animal group appeared. Scientists call this the Cambrian explosion, and they still can't fully explain why. Creatures with eyes, shells, legs, and spines evolved almost overnight. Geologically speaking, predators appeared for the first time. Life became a battle for survival. This arms race of evolution pushed life to become faster, stronger, smarter. Within a few million years, oceans transformed from empty to overflowing with life. But life was about to attempt something even more dangerous: leaving the water. Around 470 million years ago, plants became the first life to touch land. Slowly, land turned from barren rock into Earth's very first forests. Then, around 375 million years ago, a fish did something extraordinary. It used its fins to crawl out of water and onto land. This creature was the ancestor of every land animal, including you. Over millions of years, these creatures evolved into amphibians, then reptiles. And reptiles were about to give rise to the most feared creatures ever. 230 million years ago, dinosaurs appeared, and they would rule for 165 million years. To put that in perspective, humans have existed for less than 1% of that time. Giant creatures like the Tyrannosaurus rex ruled as apex predators. Herbivores like the Brachiosaurus grew taller than a 5-story building. The skies were no longer empty either. Pterosaurs soared above the land. Dinosaurs seemed unstoppable. Nothing on Earth could challenge their dominance. But 66 million years ago, something from space was about to end it all. A 6-mile-wide asteroid was on a direct collision course with Earth, and the dinosaurs below had absolutely no idea what was coming. The asteroid struck what is now Mexico, releasing energy of billions of nuclear bombs. The impact triggered massive fires, tsunamis, and earthquakes across the entire planet. Dust and ash blocked out the sun for months, maybe even years. Without sunlight, plants died. Without plants, herbivores starved. Then predators too. In a geological instant, 75% of all species on Earth were wiped out. The mighty dinosaurs, rulers for 165 million years, vanished almost overnight. But in every ending, there is a terrifying new beginning. With dinosaurs gone, small mammals that once hid in shadows finally had a chance. Over millions of years, these small creatures rapidly evolved and diversified. Some grew massive, like the woolly mammoth. Others became fast hunters. Forests grew back. Grasslands spread. Earth was transforming once again. And in the trees of these forests, a new type of mammal was climbing. These tree-dwelling creatures were the distant ancestors of something remarkable us. Around 6 million years ago, our ancestors split from other primates in Africa. Slowly, these creatures stood upright and began walking on 2 legs. This freed their hands, and free hands meant they could create tools. Around 300,000 years ago, Homo sapiens, modern humans, finally appeared. Compared to Earth's 4.5 billion years, we have existed for barely a blink. If Earth's history was 24 hours, humans appeared in the final 2 seconds. Yet in that blink, we have changed this planet more than anything before us. We learned fire, farming, writing, and eventually civilization itself. In just 10,000 years, humans built cities, empires, and technology beyond imagination. In the last 200 years alone, we have altered Earth's atmosphere itself, the same atmosphere that took billions of years to stabilize. We changed in decades. Forests that took millions of years to grow are vanishing within our lifetime. We are now considered a geological force. Scientists call this the Anthropocene. 5 mass extinctions have already happened in Earth's history. Scientists warn a 6th may be underway. Species are disappearing faster today than at almost any point in Earth's past. Earth survived asteroids, ice ages, and poison atmospheres. It will survive us too. The terrifying question is not whether Earth will survive. It's whether we will. You are the result of 5 billion years of chaos, extinction, and survival. The question is, what will you do with the time you have left?